Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Horror Mine. My name is Vic Shy, and this is the Scare Score, where I break down horror movies and rate them on how scary I think they are. This week, my friends, I'll be covering by far the most requested movie on the channel, the 2021 Thai found footage horror film, The Medium. The Medium is directed by Banjong Pisantanakun, most notably known for his 2004 classic horror film Shudder. The film is written and produced by the South Korean director who brought us The Wailing, Na Hong Jin. The Medium is a terrifying film about possession and shamanism in northern Thailand and made to look like a documentary. I'll be going over the events that take place throughout the film while our scare score goes up or down based on how effective the scares are or attempt to be. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. In today's world, accidental injuries are way too common. Things like car crashes and on-the-job accidents happen all the time. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. With over 100 offices across the country, more than 800 lawyers, and 4,000 case staff, they are ready to fight for you. Everything is completely free of charge unless they win your case. No upfront costs, no sign-up fees. If you don't win your case, you pay nothing. Morgan & Morgan has attorneys who focus on every area of personal injury law: car accidents, slip and fall, workplace injuries, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and more. If you or a loved one are ever injured in an accident, you can check out Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/horrormine. That's forthepeople.com/horrormine, or click the link in the description or comment section down below. Or dial #LAW, that's #529 from your cell phone. Thank you to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. But without further ado, sit back and relax and join me as we explore the cultural and religious world of shamanism in northern Thailand in The Medium. Our movie begins with a narration from our main character, Neem. Neem is a shaman of the goddess Bayan, an ancestral spirit and protector of the village worshipped by the locals for generations. She says that only the women in her family have been chosen by the goddess to be her shaman, a role that has been handed down from generations. Her older sister Noi was initially chosen by Bayan, but she refused to become a shaman. As the town shaman, Neem acts as a medium for Bayan and is believed to be possessed by the goddess's spirit. As a medium, she bridges the gap between the spirit world to heal the living from supernatural inflictions. From the first few shots of the film, we see that the Isan people are very religious and superstitious. Several red clothing items are hung from the front of their houses meant to repel the widow ghost, Pime Mai. The widow ghost is known throughout northern Thailand as an evil spirit who specifically targets men and their marriages. The Isan people believe that everything is inhabited by a spirit, which becomes very important later in the story. Neem is being interviewed by a crew making a documentary on shamanism in northern Thailand. The film is shot beautifully and we get several nice wide shots of the countryside that establish the setting perfectly. We see Neem along with several other locals performing a ceremony worshipping the goddess Bayan. Neem reveals that she never wanted to become a medium in the first place. When she was initially chosen by the goddess, she became very ill and experienced so much pain that she tried taking her own life. She now fully embraces her role as a shaman and even has a part-time job as a seamstress. Neem attends the funeral of a man named Wilod, the husband of her older sister Noi, who passed away from cancer. All the men from the Yasantia family experienced tragic deaths, including Wilod's eldest son Mac, who died of a motorcycle crash years ago. On her way to the funeral, Neem sees a dead black dog on the side of the road, foreshadowing the terrible events to come. At the funeral, we are introduced to Noi's daughter Mink, who is the one who discovered her father's dead body. We also meet Neem's older brother Manit and his wife Bang. After the funeral, Mink gives Neem a shopping list from her mother. The look on Neem's face when Mink touches her arm is odd and concerning. A little later, a drunken Mink accuses one of her uncles of cursing at her and goes off on him. That night, Neem sees Mink having an intense staring contest with an old blind lady who is mysteriously found dead the next day. I suppose we know who lost the contest. They follow Mink to the back of the temple where they see her just standing there and oddly twitching. Neem becomes increasingly concerned of Mink's behavior and discovers a pataba in her closet. Neem says that a pataba is an item used to ward off evil spirits. She believes that the goddess Bayan may be trying to move into Mink and make her the next medium. The camera crew decide to document the possible shaman inheritance and begin following her around. Mink works at a recruitment center that helps other people find jobs, but as we'll find out later, that's not the only service she offers there. The crew interview Noi and ask her about the shaman inheritance. She was initially chosen by the goddess to become the medium before Neem. She rejected the inheritance, however, and even converted to Christianity to avoid it. Mink's behavior becomes increasingly strange and she starts acting like a child. She tries getting on a small ride, which made me think of one thing. She goes to a kid's playground and pushes a few of them around. The film hasn't been very scary up to this point, but the slow buildup of Mink's possession is extremely well done and effective. After a night of clubbing, Mink falls asleep on a bench at the recruitment center with the camera crew oddly still recording. She is woken up by her coworkers and begins bleeding in front of everyone. The most disturbing aspect of this scene is that the camera crew is recording her the entire time. This is a vulnerable moment for her and they seem to almost dehumanize and take advantage of her. Noi notices that Mink's symptoms are similar to hers and Neem's when they were chosen by Bayan. Manit tells her that she must undergo the acceptance ceremony, but she doesn't want her daughter to become a shaman. Mink's symptoms are not only taking a physical toll on her body, but also a large emotional toll, which is sad to see. She briefly appears to be possessed by the Grinch when she begins viciously throwing candy at the audience during a Christmas parade. I suppose this scene officially makes The Medium a Christmas movie, and not a jolly one. Her possession takes her to an all-time low when she is fired from her job for having sex at the office after hours. The following scene of Mink seemingly helpless and lost as a result is truly gut-wrenching. Noi begins praying to Jesus while Neem prays to Bayan. This is a very important scene in the film that highlights the theme of faith, something that gets put into question as the situation gradually gets worse. Mink's situation pushes her over the edge as Noi finds her unconscious in the bathroom after an attempt to take her own life. This is exactly how Neem reacted when she was initially chosen by Bayan to become her medium. Noi finally agrees to let Mink undergo the acceptance ceremony to become the next medium. However, Neem reveals that it is not Bayan who has possessed her and that she cannot perform the ceremony. We discover that Mink is being possessed by the soul of her dead brother Mac. Mac was in love with his sister and took his own life because they could not be together. The truth behind his death was kept a secret as the family did not want it known that the siblings were romantically involved. Everyone in the family apparently knew about this except for the one who's spiritually sensitive. In a chilling scene, Neem visits the spot where Mac took his own life. The sudden revelation of who is possessing Mink and the dark implications that come along with it make this scene pretty horrifying. Noi believes that Neem is refusing to help Mink and says that she is going to find her own solution to the problem. Neem addresses Mac's spirit directly and tells him that he cannot take Mink. Noi and Manit take Mink and drive her to see a Buddhist shaman. During the drive, Mink's face is completely void of any emotion. However, her reflection in the window shows something deeply disturbing. This is a masterfully haunting scene that perfectly portrays Mink's possession. Her body is now an empty vessel possessed by a truly malevolent spirit. A shaman performs a ceremony for Mink, which only proves to make things worse when she grabs one of the cameras and begins violently assaulting her own mother with it. She then runs off and disappears. Mink goes missing and Neem must hold a ceremony to find her. She says that Noi must open her heart to Bayan and beg for her forgiveness for having previously rejected her. They gather random items in Mink's room that may have traces of spirits she came in contact with. They even find a used condom, something that you'd never find in my room. Neem performs the ceremony at the spot where Mac took his own life. She prays day in and day out, and one day,
it started raining, and it didn't quit for 4 months.
At this point in the film, the level of dread has peaked and hope is at an all-time low. One day, Neem receives a sign when she cracks an egg and a black yolk comes out. She heads to the burned-down Yasantia thread factory, the one that Mac's grandfather burned down for insurance money before his death. She finds Mink unconscious inside of the factory and brings her to the hospital. Neem goes back up the mountain to pray to Bayan but finds that the statue of the goddess has been decapitated. Neem's cries of agony are truly gut-wrenching and show just how connected she has become with the goddess. It is never revealed who actually vandalized the statue. However, it's safe to assume it was the work of the evil spirits trying to prevent Neem from helping Mink. Neem confronts Mink, who claims to be possessed by Bayan. Mink rips off her shirt, exposing her breasts, and attacks her uncle Manit, stating that he enjoys having sex with young girls. She also reveals that Noi is the reason Neem became a medium, as she did everything in her power to ensure Neem was chosen by Bayan instead of her. Cue the mandatory black throw-up scene in every possession movie known to man. Mink's possession has become too powerful and Neem needs the help of another shaman to exorcise her. They bring her to a place where a colorful ceremony is being held and the look on her face is truly stuff of nightmares. We are introduced to a shaman named Santi who says that Mink is being possessed by numerous vindictive spirits. He explains that Wilod's ancestors beheaded thousands of people who placed a curse on the family and his offsprings. Wilod also married Noi, who is the one who rejected the goddess Bayan, creating a recipe for disaster that Mink is now paying for. Neem and Santi begin extensive preparations for Mink's exorcism. While they prepare for the exorcism, the camera crew decide to install hidden cameras to capture Mink's odd behavior during the night. Possessed Mink leaves her room every night and makes a big mess inside of the house. Her mannerisms are like that of an animal and very disturbing. Oh, and here is one of the film's few jump scares. One night, she crawls her way into the fridge for a midnight snack which has panties on the menu. The things that these security cameras capture aren't overly scary, however, Mink's creepy behavior is expertly portrayed and definitely adds to the scare factor. She sneaks into Manit's room and runs her finger over Bang's stomach. Bang wakes up with severe stomach pains as Ming creepily hides in the corner of the room smiling. Manit installs a bolt under her door to prevent her from getting out. He quickly realizes, however, that supernatural spirits don't use doors when he finds his dead dog inside of a cooking pot. They review the footage and observe Mink boiling the dog alive and then eating it. She is then seen going inside of his room and kidnapping his baby Bong. They go searching for the baby and quickly find him in a field of grass, safe and sound. Manit hears a woman crying in the grass and is suddenly attacked by Mink holding a knife. One day before the ceremony, Neem is mysteriously found dead in her house. The circumstances behind her death are unknown. Master Santi is now going in solo for the ceremony taking place at the Yasantia thread factory. He plans on summoning all of the evil spirits from Mink's body and expelling them into a burning pit of fire. Sounds pretty cool, right? If it works. Noi's head is covered in a text-covered shroud and she is tied to a rope that connects her to the other ceremony participants. The ceremony begins and Master Santi ain't playing around. He summons the evil spirits and makes them enter Noi's body. She starts to bleed and throws up into a pot. Back at home, Mink is locked inside of her room and her door is sealed with several talismans. She screams and tries tricking Bang into opening the door. One of Santi's disciples says that they cannot open the door until the ceremony is over. Mink tricks Bang into opening the door by making her think her son is inside of the room. However, the camera pans in on the baby who was sound asleep in his crib. She opens the door, breaking the seals of the talisman and ruins the entire ceremony as a result. This unleashes all of the evil spirits into the open to freely possess all those inside of the building, starting with Master Santi. Bang enters the room and sees that Mink was imitating the cries of her son. Mink stabs her in the neck with a piece of glass and goes after the other two who did nothing to help. In a shocking scene, he opens the door and sees Mink eating bong from inside his crib. She creepily crawls towards him and kills him off screen. Back at the factory, the disciples have become possessed and begin attacking the camera crew like mindless zombies. Noi regains consciousness and tells Manit that Bayan has now possessed her. Her smiling face covered in blood actually looks terrifying. She tells the remaining disciples that they must finish the ceremony. Right outside of the factory, one of the crew members is attempting to fight off several possessed disciples feeding on him. Mink suddenly appears and kills him. Noi seemingly attempts to finish the ceremony but puts all the incense into the pot backwards. The remaining people inside of the building all start to go crazy, showing that Noi is possessed by an evil spirit and not Bayan. Manit also loses it and bites one of the cameramen before jumping out of the building. Mink arrives inside of the building and confronts Noi. She kills the last cameraman and burns her mother alive. The film's final act follows the typical found footage formula and goes pretty balls to the wall crazy. These acts are typically pretty silly and this was no exception. However, it still managed to remain creepy and disturbing, which I commend. In the film's final scene, we see Neem's final interview just before her death. She admits that she is now unsure if she was ever possessed by Bayan at all. By casting doubt on her faith in the goddess, she lost Bayan's protection, which contributed to her death. As the credits roll, Neem locks herself in her room and having lost all hope, we hear her crying uncontrollably as the movie ends. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was The Medium. When I first heard that the directors of Shudder and The Wailing were coming together to make a found footage film about shamanism, my excitement flew through the roof. I had pretty high expectations coming into this film, and it did not disappoint. The film had a pretty engaging plot that was carried by some truly excellent performances. I believe that the film would have benefited from not being presented in the found footage format. I felt that the documentary style didn't offer much substance and sometimes detracted from the overall enjoyability. However, The Medium is a very solid horror film with a constant sense of dread felt throughout. With a minimal amount of jump scares, it had some truly shocking moments and very disturbing imagery, earning The Medium a great scare score of 84%. The scariest scene in the film is when Mink's reflection smiles deviously as she blankly stares out of the window. This was a brilliantly presented scare that perfectly showed the dire state of her possession. Actress Narilia Galmungolpek, who portrays Mink, gave a truly terrifying and unforgettable performance. Her portrayal of a possessed Mink truly elevated the film, and I look forward to seeing what she does in the future. But as always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all for tuning in, and I cannot wait to see y'all right back here in the Horror Mine. Y'all stick around.